what broke me was doing everything myself. I really burnt out because I was doing 50 plus deals on my own without any assistance, couldn't get any sleep. And I remember this one moment where I had to actually drive off to the side of the road and take a 20-minute nap. And this was in
Wow.
the middle of the day because I was completely exhausted. And so at that point, I knew I had to start hiring and building a team.
This is the profitable broker. So I'd like to welcome Jenny Woon of Oakwyn Realty Northwest today from Burnaby, British Columbia. Welcome, Jenny.
Thank you. How are you doing? Thanks for the invite, Wayne.
Oh, I'm so excited to have you. First of all, I think everyone should know, Jenny, that Burnaby, British Columbia, where your office is, has to be one of the most beautiful locations on the planet. And I know because I had the privilege of visiting your office last week. So it really is a great place to sell real estate.
I noticed you were exploring quite a bit of the West Coast and a little bit of Alberta. So I'm glad you were able to take a look at and explore the landscape. I do have to admit, we've been in the Maclean's magazine. We were one of the most livable cities in the world for many
Wow.
years in a row.
That's amazing. Well, it's a real privilege to have you here. I just have to tell our audience, Jenny, of course, we've had a coaching relationship, so I know a little bit about you, but I want to share with the audience some of your incredible accomplishments. First of all, I know that you have you're a graduate of the Electronic Commerce and Building Construction Technology program at the British Columbia Institute of Technology. You're an active member of the Board of Trade, the Urban Development Institute, in the Pacific region. You were voted the most favorite realtor in Burnaby for 8 years running, as well as being a finalist for the Business Person of the Year for the Burnaby Board of Trade. And you were also appointed as one of the 9 most influential women in Canadian new development real estate. Now, that is quite a resume, I have to say.
Oh, thank you. It's been a long time since I looked at that list. I'm just trucking away here, just doing what I've been given, all these tools and resources, and why not take advantage of it? So I'm really blessed to be I'm in a market that really supports our career, and yeah, it's been a good ride, and the ride's not over yet.
Absolutely, and none of that resume, Jenny, surprises me at all. Knowing you, you're one of the most. First of all, you work harder than anyone I know. You're extraordinarily out front, like an innovator. But I want to ask a couple questions so the audience could get to know you better, Jenny. Let me ask this question. I always like to start with your real estate journey. All of us have a story, how we got into real estate. How did you get into the real estate business? What got you into real estate?
Well, it's not anything too crazy, and it's not a, but I have to say, I've always been in sales, I've always been in marketing, and that's what I took in my business program with the university here. But I actually had originally turned down this job opportunity with one of the major developers locally here. And I thought I was making a ton of money, and it really wasn't. It was like 50,000 at this telecommunications company. And I thought I was like, graduated, and that was going to be where I was going to my where my career was heading. But my resume was passed down to this developer. I went in for an interview, and the starting salary was like $20,000. And I was like, there's no way. I'm making already 30,000 extra at this telecommunications company. And he said, no, no, don't worry. With commissions, you're going to really enjoy this work. And I said, okay, I will work. I'll start part-time. And so this was in 2002. I I came in as a sales coordinator, and I was doing a lot of administrative work, but I was really looking at and observing what the sales managers was doing. And I really enjoyed what they were doing. Like, they were helping buyers move into a beautiful home. I was the sales coordinator, so I was more doing the back end work, and keeping the displays clean, really the first impression when people walk in to the very end of the day, wrapping up and making sure that everybody got the documents that they needed. But what really fascinated me was the conversations that we're having every single day in the sales center and getting them to choose the right home that fit their family. And my mentality changed. For the admin work, I would come in before the hours of operation and then stayed really late. And during the middle of the day, when the office was open, I would just be on the sales floor and helping as much as I can to close deals. And that really encouraged me to get my real estate license because I didn't have to have my real estate license at that time. Yeah, it's not too much of a fascinating story, but that's really how I got started, was with a really big developer.
Well, it's interesting, Jenny. I think the story tells a lot because when you talk about the idea of helping families, I know one of the things I first learned about you when we started to work together, and I always like to do a little research and kind of get to know clients, right, that are joining our organization, is one of the things I discovered about you is you're a principle-centered leader. I mean, everything's about values and principles. And so it doesn't surprise me that you had, your principles led you to, hey, I'm going to help people. And on that vein, you have taken on a lot of leadership. You own your own brokerage. You have your own sales team. A large sales team. You have a beautiful office, a cutting edge office. You're also a coach of other realtors. You kind of spread your knowledge, which I think is amazing. When did you decide to take on leadership? I mean, what got us from sort of the developer's office, if you will, or the developer's role to leadership?
Well, in 2008, 2009, I decided to go out on my own as a solo agent. And what broke me was doing everything myself.
Mm,
And I really burnt out because I was doing 50 plus deals on my own without any assistance, and couldn't get any sleep. And I remember this one moment where I had to actually drive off to the side of the road and take a 20-minute nap. And this was in
wow.
the middle of the day because I was completely exhausted. And so at that point, I knew I had to start hiring and building a team. And it took that time. Most of us really do know when we need to add on to our team, whether it be a virtual assistant or a unlicensed assistant, licensed assistant, or even a buyer's agent or a listing agent or a concierge, whatever you want to call that position. And we know by way of uh, the income that we're making, because then we know how to add resources to our systems. Or we just know that we're overextended and we have an abundance of leads to be able to work with. I think it took me that long where I was really burnt out to really understand that I just couldn't do this myself if I really want to grow my business. And instead of thinking of it as being a self-employed agent, I need to really think like a CEO. And at that point, I knew that I had to step into the leadership role to really let go of a lot of tasks and start delegating, and believing that I can, manage people, that I can give tasks that I didn't really need to do myself. And that's when it started.
That's awesome. And so today you're a leader, and I've already said you're a coach of realtors. I want you to put on your real estate broker coaching hat for a sec. What would you tell our audience if you were coaching them today is the biggest opportunity for them in for the next 36 months in the market? What would you tell them?
Okay, so the buyers that they have on the fence, they're not scared or they're not fearful. It's because they have too much information and they're unable to make decisions. So
Right.
get into your phone. There's probably 10 buyers in there, or even 100 people that may know 10 buyers. And there you go. That's your income for the year. So it's really asking the really great questions and understanding and building them a step-by-step program on how to get to their dream, which is buying a home or selling their home. It's just really having some honest conversations and building a plan for their clients.
That's such great advice, Jenny. And I know when we spent some time last week together, we were with your recruiting team, and we were talking about the value that you bring to other agents. That if people come and work with your organization, the value that you provide. And I think that was what I left that meeting with, was you have kind of the secret sauce for helping agents, and no matter what the market, helping them become more productive and achieving. You just talked about the buyers achieving their goals. Also, by helping the buyers achieve their goals, obviously the agents can achieve their goals too.
Yeah, and absolutely. I think most of the time, the conversations that I have in a coaching session is that you're doing somebody a disservice if you're not providing all the resources and the knowledge that you have that you've been learning all these years. And I find that when there's a mindset issue or a fear issue from the agents, or they're overthinking things, maybe they're feeling like they're too salesy. In fact, I think that's very selfish. That's a very selfish way to think. I
Mm.
mean, imagine everything that you're learning each day. If you're keeping that to yourself, you're not sharing it with your circle and your sphere of influence. I just really think that, that's your job, is to really share and to provide the steps that a person needs to get closer to their goals.
It's interesting. I have a saying, Jenny, that there's three things in life that are certain: death, taxes, and real estate always goes up. And do you think that realtors, I mean, we're talking to our brokers and they're trying to help realtors become productive. Obviously, you're very good at that. Do you think the challenge with the realtors is they don't believe in real estate as an investment, or they get their idea gets, hey, it's not going to go up, or it's not a good time to buy? Like, do you think that's part of their mindset that we've got to help them shift?
I think the shift is that they're not selling homes, they're marketing homes, they're selling real estate.
I
Okay.
love it.
And is this something that maybe you brought up many times in one of our workshops?
Could have been. I love it.
See,
It's you were
this is the
thinking off the same
influence.
time.
This is the influence you have on us. And so I really believe that if agents don't believe in this themselves, then how are they going to convince their clients, right? And a lot of them, they've never gone through that process of ownership, and perhaps they're renting as well. So if they can get in the shoes of the buying process and understanding how easy it is to start saving, how easy it is to, what that process looks like in selecting a home, in asking the right questions. I think then it's probably a lot easier for the agent to really understand the emotional intelligence. Just picking those little things up that what a client goes through. Then they have a better understanding of, like, asking the right questions.
You know what? I think that's a mic drop moment for our brokers, Jenny, in terms of helping productivity, is helping the agents get, have empathy, really, is what I heard you say, for buyers, and believe in the product, understand that real estate is a great investment. I think most people's wealth, certainly initially anyways, was created in real estate. If we hadn't have bought real estate, we wouldn't have the wealth that we have today. And that never changes. No matter what the time period. And I don't know if you would agree with this or not, but very rarely, if ever, have I seen a business case that works for a buyer to wait.
Yes, it's never too late to buy. So that's what
Yeah.
I always say to everybody: it's never late to buy. It's just, how are you going to get there, right? And I think at the end of the day, yeah, renting is um, great if you have short-term goals, and you're really uncertain on maybe the neighborhood, or perhaps you may come across like a job relocation at some point. But at the end of the day, real estate is a long-term investment, and it's great to add to your portfolio. It's also great not to have all the eggs in one basket, right? Yeah, I mean, to me, like, a pure business case. In my case, I bought my home when I was 18 years old,
Hmm.
and I wouldn't have been able to buy my house had I not buy the condo. And it would have taken me much longer time to save money from the income I was making. So, 24 years later, I've been in the business since 2002, and uh, there's maybe like, I'm just trying to think how many properties I have. they're all it's a good portfolio. And sometimes I think that, I'm really lucky to be able to get into a market that allows me to be a landlord. It's been a great experience, and I tell my clients all the time, some of them don't even know that they can afford more than one property. Just last year I had a client who was going to sell their one bedroom, and they had a significant down payment available from the equity of their first home. And I said, why don't you reconsider trying to, you're almost mortgage free on your condo. Let's try to keep this property and then port some of that equity into your townhome. And yeah, they're surprisingly to themselves that are now landlords.
That's awesome, Jenny. It goes back to what you said earlier: sell real estate, get people turned on to the idea of owning real estate. The rest will figure itself out, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome. Well, I have something I call the lightning round. I'm going to ask you a few questions here that are just kind of off the top of your head. What book should we all be reading right now that you've read?
I'd say Never Split the Difference with Chris Voss.
I love that. It's a great book. From an FBI negotiator. How do you
Oh,
beat that?
the opener is really good.
Excellent. Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. What podcast should we all be listening to?
Well, I'm going to do some self promotion here, besides yours, Wayne.
Let's do it.
So I have a podcast. I was up to 200 episodes last year. My co-host and I, we took a break for a year, and we are relaunching it with our rebrand. It's called In the House Podcast. Initially, we were, the topic was how to move from a six-figure agent to a seven-figure agent, and our lives kind of spun a little bit, and we grew over the past. It was a COVID project from what the podcast started, but after 200 episodes, we our angles a little bit different. I think we both have changed. Our business have changed in a way too. So yeah, In the House Podcast. You can find it on Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube.
Excellent. Fantastic. And one more time, give us the name: In-House Podcast.
In the House Podcast with Jenny Woon and Tony Singh.
There you go. In the House Podcast. Fantastic. I love it. I'm going to listen to that. Here's a great question. What do you do? I know you work a lot, and so spare time is precious. What do you do what's your favorite thing to do in your spare time?
Favorite thing to do? I go up to Howe Sound and I go to Squamish to kiteboard.
Isn't
The
that
water's
crazy?
freezing, so I have to wear a wetsuit, but it is a great way to be in the nature, in the ocean, with some sea lions or seals. I see otters. Apparently the orcas kind of come across once in a while, but it's really fun to get out in the water.
That's beautiful. And if you haven't been to Squamish, if you're listening, you've got to get there. Let me ask this, Jenny. What's the most important leadership lesson that you've ever learned?
I'd say leaders eat last. This is Simon Sinek's, one of my favorite books. I think it needs to come from an intrinsic personality where you want everyone else to do well. And one of the things I learned is that I'm paying them to come up with ideas. So I want them to give me ideas to tell me what is going on, boots to the ground of what is happening, of what they're observing, what they're seeing, what they're experiencing. And that way they come to me so I can make the right decisions for the best of the community and for my business, and really build a culture that is from bottom up rather than me making decisions just from what I've experienced. And yeah, I would say just listening to the people that you pay to give you good advice.
I love that. Leaders eat last. It's really that servant mindset, right? Servant leadership mindset. That's great. Oftentimes, Jenny, we talk about successes, right? At the beginning, I read a very a long list, a distinguished list of some of your successes. But I think myself that some of our best learnings come from failures. And so the question I have is what's your biggest failure that taught you a lesson?
Okay. Well, I'm going to get a little personal here. I would probably say from my divorce, not to be attached to things and outcomes and expectations. And, if you want things to be done one way, I think you lose sight of other opportunities that may come. And so, and just even expectations of people. So I think just being more open minded and not, and just be more open to having more than one outcome. And then you have a selection of, opportunities that you can choose from. But if you're just stuck with one idea, then you may actually have a miss of opportunities.
Yeah, that's what a great lesson. Thanks for sharing that. And I appreciate you sharing that experience. Um, Looking at the next 12 months, Jenny, what are you most excited about?
I am most excited about, oh gosh, you know what? We have um, an abundance of inventory right now in Vancouver. Okay. So over the last, I'd say 18 months to 24 months, our market has really shifted to a buyer's market. And what we have seen is a lot of middle housing that has come on the market for uh, first time buyers to come into the market and buy something that is, they've been probably renting something really small and really educating them to see how they can get into the market and soak up this inventory that we have. So I'm really excited to be able to teach the agents here how to have that conversation, the kind of conversations that they can have with their clients to be able to step into the game of real estate.
What's interesting, Jenny, it's such a beautiful answer, and it doesn't surprise me a bit because what you're so excited about is the opportunity for others, right? And it just speaks to your servant leadership philosophy and your principled centered leadership. Here at the Profitable Broker, we talk to people who are really moving the needle in the real estate industry. Jenny, without question, you are one of them. Thanks for being such a great guest today. Let me ask this. If people want to get in touch with you, how do they get in touch with you if they're listening to the podcast today?
Yeah, so my email is jennywoon@oakwyn.com. You can find me on Instagram, Jenny Woon, JENNYWUN .CEO. Yeah, just hit me up, DM, send me a DM. And my phone number is 604-961-3559. If you're in the area in Burnaby or Vancouver, I'd love to go for a coffee. Happy to be able to meet, your listeners in person and share my stories and exchange ideas and advice. But thanks for having me on your podcast. I really enjoyed speaking with you.
Well, it was great to have you, Jenny. And I would say this to anyone visiting Burnaby or Vancouver, take Jenny up on that offer because I promise you this, it's going to be time well invested. Jenny, thanks again. It was great to have you as a guest. And of course, we wish you continued success.
Thank you.
If today's episode resonated with you, hit subscribe or follow so you don't miss what's coming next. More stories, more lessons, and the unfiltered side of what it really takes to succeed in the market. I'm Wayne Einhorn, and this is The Profitable Broker. Real conversations about what it takes to run a successful brokerage. And we're just getting started. Let's go. This is The Profitable Broker.